Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AI Sales Tech Conference. I am so excited to be here with you and present to you some of the research and some of the trends that we're seeing and teach you a little bit more about how organizations are using AI to win in 2024. If you do not follow yet our host, David Delaney, he's an amazing guy to stay in touch with. He's always involved in the ecosystem, puts lots of good informational insights. His podcast is crazy good. And I hope him and I can collaborate more as the time goes by. But for today, I'm going to share my screen and take you through a little bit of like things that I've learned in the past 12 months, how we are using AI, and I'll show you obviously my favorite tool, and you'll see why it is my favorite. So let's get started. Let's have some fun. So before I get too deep into tools, I want to talk a little bit about the context and what's happening in the space. So I'll give you a second to think about this one, but what do you all think is the average number of cold outbound emails that are needed to get a positive reply? And we're considering a positive reply, not a thanks for your email, but I'm not interested, of course. A positive reply is going to be somebody that either gives you a referral or takes a meeting with you from a cold outbound prospect. The number here is 1,229. Literally, our SDRs today are having to send a ton of emails to get somebody to say yes. What's happening on the phone? What is the industry average conversion for connect to meeting? Somebody says, hello, this is John. How many of those end up in, sure, let's meet? It's 6.4%. So obviously the trend in sales development is that things are getting harder. And now you only have one choice. You got to become more efficient. The volume game has been played in the past 2 or 3 years, and it helped, but it didn't solve the problem. We're seeing a lot of companies, therefore, laying off a good portion of their SDRs and focusing, right, regrouping and rethinking how can we build an efficient SDR team. And today, I'll share with you how to do that, because aren't we all tired? I mean, I get these AI generated emails all the time, and they suck. I mark them spam. I get all these AI generated LinkedIn messages. They suck. I get the AI power dialers. And guess what? Eventually come as potential spam, and they suck. So those tactics of 2021, 2022, 2023 no longer cut it in 2024. More importantly, if you think about the life of an SDR leader, it is incredibly challenging to hire BDRs and teach them all the things that they need to know and to do so in an effective way. Your SDR should know how to build the right lists, how to find the right ICP, the right buyer personas. What are the messages that resonate with them? Once you have the right list, you got to create the sequences, and they need to learn copywriting. And no, I know you graduated college and you're writing 18-page essays. Please don't do that for the emails. They got to be short and sweet and to the point most of the time, or do they? Do those work, or do the longer emails work? Do you even have the data as an SDR leader? Do you know what to coach your team on? How are you personalizing the emails? How are you making the phone calls? And what are the openers that work? Today, we're going to talk about efficiency, and we're going to talk about how AI can help with efficiency. What I want to share with you is I've had the opportunity to be able to just watch certain organizations, and these organizations are winning the game. Their BDRs went from getting less than 3 meetings performed or meetings completed per month per SDR, all the way up to around 8 meetings per SDR per month. So I'm going to share the tactics. What these companies have in common is that they're actually data obsessed. Being data obsessed means that you're looking at how many days out are you booking a meeting? What, therefore, what's the show rate? It also means what's the connect rate on the day of the week. And this might be helpful because perhaps you're going to call a little bit less on Thursday and a little bit more on Friday. But what if you start doing it by the hour of the day and by persona and by time zone? Imagine this was the connect rate for calling security engineers that are in mountain time on a Tuesday. This would be incredibly insightful because then I can start utilizing the data to better structure my day. Should I really be calling in the morning? I mean, it kind of doesn't make as much sense to call between 8 and 10 a.m. I'd much rather be calling between the 3 and 5. So instead of doing my data research at the end of the day and come in the morning hot and start dialing, maybe I want to do it a different way. We can look at all sorts of techniques, methods, tactics, figuring out the quality of the meetings, how AEs are thinking about it, building out scorecards that help us convert meetings to pipeline, figuring out, what are the best practices and putting them into folders. But we're not here to talk about like the full sales funnel today. I really want to talk about SDRs. And I want to talk about how SDRs went from manual processes to data-driven to AI-enabled data-driven. And I believe that if you all start embracing technology that helps you understand high efficiency in your SDR processes, you are going to win. And by the way, I do have something at the end. So stick around until the end of my session and you will get a little prize for it. So let's do it. First of all, companies that are winning in the efficiency game have stopped looking at reports and metrics that don't give you good information. I don't know if this is purposeful or not, but if you are outreach, you sell by the seat. What do you want companies to do? You want companies to have as many seats in your platform as possible. If your SDRs are so efficient that you can have one SDR for every 5 AEs, and I have 50 AEs, and I'm only going to have 10 SDRs. If I need one SDR for every AE, I'm going to have 50 SDRs. Then I can sell 50 seats. Does that mean that the incentives are slightly misaligned? Yes. Does it mean that outreach is evil? No. Does it mean that they have an incentive to bring you the most impactful data? Who knows, right? So when I look at this data and I look at my email data and outreach, and it's even worse in SalesLoft, so don't even get me started. And if you're looking at the Zoom Info, Sequencer, or whatever other plays or report, horrible, right? But if you look at this data, nothing is actionable. I can see what are my top templates that are getting kind of like what open rate and what reply rate, what opt-out rate, what bounce rate, but like there's no easy way to take action and make it better. I can see, oh, my emails, what's my open rate versus my reply rate and how is it trending? But it really depends on like what sorts of emails am I sending? Like what is the template that's getting better or worse success? Even when I'm trying to improve my sequences at the bottom, the data is just purely delivered, open, and replied. And it's hard to compile it all in a place where I can make informed decisions. So data-driven organizations have stopped looking at the reports inside their sales engagement tool. Some of them are sending a lot of data on Excel. And if you're an SDR leader and you're using Excel, congrats. You've taken the first step. You're doing well. Okay? Now let's be honest. Emails delivered, open, and replied, they give you a little bit of data, but it's not good enough. Funny enough, if you focus on step number 6 here, these 3 emails have about the same open rate. And the first one has clearly better reply rate. So if I was an SDR and I was looking at this data, or an SDR leader, and I was looking at this data, I'd be like, my top template is the best. I'm going to keep one. Keep that one. But now look what happens when you embrace the Big Short mindset. If you haven't seen the movie The Big Short, go watch it, right? He goes deep into analyzing every mortgage and realizes that they're all trash. So what I want to understand is I want to analyze every reply. I don't know how many of those replies are trash. And here's what you find. You can classify those replies into 3 buckets: positive, neutral, negative. Positive means they're taking a meeting. Neutral means they're saying no, thank you. Negative means they're saying unsubscribe. And when you look at this data on step 6, the same step that we're just looking at, look at this, the same data. The top email got 10 positive replies. It's only getting a positive reply every 200 emails. The second email got 15 positive replies on 2,400. It's getting a positive reply every 160. The difference between 160 and 200 is 20% better. Now, if you're like me, after I started putting this data on Excel, what I ended up doing is grabbing a notebook and start notating how many positives, how many neutrals, how many negatives, what template on the left. You can see my 3 different templates for this step, my 2 different templates, capital M or lowercase m, this or this or this. And you can see how I'm looking at how much better I can get my templates by simply turning things off. Getting better many times purely means stop doing the things that aren't working. So that's something to embrace. Now, how do we get to AI? Well, the first step to get into AI is getting data driven. So once you have the data and once you have it on Excel, boom. Imagine you can have this inside of Outreach. All your data for your whole sequence. Emails delivered, open, replied, positive, neutral, negative. Imagine the AI was helping you classify this data. Every reply you get is classified into positive, neutral, negative. On top of that, you get your positive ratio. As you can see, this email step number 2, 64 emails delivered. It got 2 positive replies. That means it's getting a positive reply every 32. The positive ratio will inform you how effective those are. What I also might want to see is which one's getting a lot of negative replies because those are being unsubscribes. And is it the wrong contact or whatever else? But this is good, but this is just another annoying dashboard. So AI classifying your data might be helpful, but you know where it really makes an impact? Look at this crazy thing. The AI has detected that certain templates in your sequence are statistically significantly inferior. That means that these templates are hurting your performance. And statistics and data have now shown that we have collected enough information that you should turn this off, right? If you have an email that's getting a positive reply every 100, then you have another one that's getting a positive reply every 300, your average is 200. Okay? So you need to send 200 to get a positive reply. Except if you turn the 300 off, now the only one you're using is the one that's getting every 100. So now your new average is 100. Very simply, you have doubled the productivity of your sequence. You have doubled the number of email demos you're going to get by just having the AI tell you what's working, what's not. It's absolutely insane. We all know that AI is powerful, but we also need to know how far we can stretch it. There are certain areas where you can't stretch it too much. I can't go to ChatGPT and say, please write me the perfect email to get a meeting with Snowflake. It won't be able to do it. It just doesn't work that way. So I believe that the best way to use AI today is to start using it for increased efficiency. Feed it data, have it classify email responses, and inform you how to get better. We've seen companies do 300% better. The average sequence that they were running was literally taking 1,200 emails to get a reply, a positive reply. And now they're at 400, 300, 200. And as you can see here, look at this craziness. Some of these steps are in the teens. The majority are under 100, right? The average for the sequence is 100 emails per meeting. It only takes 8 leads uploaded to get a positive reply. Absolutely insane. And it's not anything other than just collecting data. Let's go to the next step. Let's talk about phone calls because I think AI can also help in phone calls. Same idea. Have you ever looked at the reports inside your sales engagement tool? I find this hilarious, but when I look at the ones in Outreach, it gives me the answer rate on the weekends. Like, really? Like, how many of Outreach customers work on the weekends? Probably very few. I'm not going to say zero, but very few. Like less than 10%, less than 5%, potentially less than 1%. But really, their dashboards includes connect rate on Sunday. The hell are you talking about? It's not useful. Look at my team here. Ah, we got like a bunch of people making calls, total calls, calls via sequences, answer rate. And literally their answer rate, have you ever realized that the difference between 3 and 4% is ginormous when you're making cold calls? Guess what? It doesn't provide a decimal point. If it's 3.49, it'll show 3. If it's 3.51, it'll show 4. And you think that you've increased from 3 to 4. No, you've increased 0.02%. Like, it's just not useful. They haven't embraced it, right? If you try to go sort through your calls, like if you're like me, 206,000 phone calls in the system. Go figure out how to get better. You're dead. Okay. So, how do great SDR leaders use data to get better? Step number one, lay it all out in an Excel sheet. And if you're smart, you're going to have calls to connects, connects to conversations, conversations to meetings. If you want to go to the next level, you need better visuals. Add color coding. Seen tons of organizations move their data away from their sales engagement tool. Great. But imagine if this went further. Imagine if the AI would listen to your call recordings and would put them in the right bucket. How many were simply, hey, John, this is Tito calling from X. Do you have 2 minutes? How many were like, oh, we do XYZ 1, 2, 3. How are you currently solving that problem? How many were like, oh, yeah, the way you're approaching it is quite interesting, but the way that we approach it is this different way, right? Now, take that into outreach. Build it all in there. I told you there was a surprise. The surprise is two things. One, you can see our logo here. This is obviously our tool. Surprise number two is that if this was interesting, you can come get a 30-day free trial. Request a demo on our website. Mention that you heard about us through the AI Sales Tech conference. And you don't even need to be an admin. You can be an SDR. I'll give you 30 days for free. Very easy to install. Anybody can do it. Super, super awesome. But here's what this is doing. How many dials did you make? How many connections? How many of those connections ended up getting to the elevator pitch with AI? How many of those elevator pitches got to a conversation with AI? How many of those conversations ended up in a meeting with AI? Then you can start seeing the efficiencies of the team. You can start comparing. And guess what the AI is also going to do? Similar to the emails, doesn't only classify the data, helps you how to improve. On a per rep basis, you can see your data month over month over month over month, or week over week over week over week. Look at this rep in particular. This went from 4.3% or 2.6, 3.6, struggling their first 3 months that they are onboarded, 5.6, 9.7, all through training. Started focusing on the areas where he was struggling. He got a lot better. You know what else helped? The tool is telling you what to focus on. What do you got to train your team on? And it can tell you if your phone numbers are showing appropriately. Another little tool that we can talk about, this one I can't give you for free, but if you want to use it, we believe technology is very powerful. You can actually, every time I call, it says Altisales dash Tito. Every time you call, it can say Tom dash company name or company name dash Tom or just your full name or whatever you want. That's where I will leave it today. I want to give you guys the opportunity to start embracing AI, not for volume, which has been the trend from 2020 to 2023. I think 2024 is the year of efficiency. I'm not alone in this thinking. You can see that companies like Deal, companies like Observe, companies like MindTickle, Mark Gossaglow from Catalyst, you know who he is. He recently left. They got the company acquired. But all these great people have embraced the data-driven insights and the AI that increases efficiency. So it's been a pleasure being here on this show. I hope you have a great rest of the conference and come embrace AI. I'm really excited about it. Have a good one, everybody. Cheers.